So welcome friends, what if Naruto was Harem met FemIssei in Highschool DxD? Movie. A Shinigami sat in the realm of the dead and looked at a number of souls. These were the souls of fallen individuals from the elemental nations, as he called them, dimensions where devils and angels did not exist or care to visit. What to do with these souls? Perhaps I should judge them and sort them to their final resting place. No, these souls still have a purpose to live, a fate, but what to do with them? The purple-skinned Oni said as it looked upon the souls in their human forms, sleeping as if they weren't dead. Each one weren't exactly predicted to die that day as he looked over the list. Anata Hyuga, a young girl of 12 or 13 with midnight blue haircut in Harem style, pale skin, and a good body that was hidden by her choice of clothing. A Yamato Nadeshiko that died from overstressing her heart from cardiac arrest but was supposed to live with medical treatment from a traitor. Guess it wasn't enough this time, even if she was just barely allowed to be reborn. Ino Yamanaka, a girl of 12 with platinum blonde hair that was tied in a bun in the back and had one side covering her face. She had a decent body as well, but her death was a complete accident from a stray kunai that cut her neck and she bled out. Never realized she was dead as she was caught in a genjutsu and bleed out too fast and like Hinata, was just barely allowed to be reborn. Sakura Haruno, also a girl of 12 with shoulder-length pink hair that was cherry blossom pink, maybe a bit darker. She wasn't as well developed as the first two girls, but she was very attractive in her own right. Crushed to death by sand from someone named Gaara, even though she was supposed to make it and she was considered more worthy as she had started to shine a bit more, even if that shine was still tainted. Sasuke Uchiha, a boy of 12 with short hair that flared up in the back reminding people of a duck. The Shinigami knew that the Uchiha had a tendency to blind themselves to reality and thus cause problems, even if they weren't necessarily evil. Sasuke died from chakra exhaustion and a few extra injuries. Why he could be seen worthy of rebirth because of his own envy is somewhat a mystery, but perhaps he might do better in a different life. Naruto Uzumaki, the last of the souls of note. He was 12 with tan skin, 3 whisker marks on each cheek, and blonde hair that was wild and spiky, in a manner similar to fur. He died a very heroic death to defeat an opponent and be a hero. Naruto's case was most peculiar since he died from a combination of injuries, mystical burns, and chakra exhaustion. The last of which wouldn't normally be possible. Of the souls present, he was the one that was most worthy of a second life, to bear his hatred and forced loneliness was a feat worthy of a deity. These 5 souls were special because they were allowed another life. Even some just barely, and the Shinigami didn't like the extra work, but knew that these souls could do something better, he was not excessively kind nor cruel. He pondered their fate, perhaps a Shinigami themselves. Then he felt a presence appearing behind him which only added to his annoyance. What is your business here, Office? The Shinigami turned to see the small figure walking calmly before him. Office had the appearance of a young girl with long black hair, reaching her hips, and grey eyes. Her ears differed from a normal human's as they ended with pointed tips, although her long black hair makes this feature difficult to notice. Her attire consisted of a black gothic Lolita fashion dress. Despite the human look, the god was no fool knowing who her true form was. They stared up at the death god before she said, "You seem to be in such a foul mood. Perhaps, I thought, I could help you." If anything, the Shinigami glared at her. "Do not try and trouble me, Office, infinite dragon god. I have no need of you condemning me, nor any attempt to patronize me. Now, begging from my realm of purgatory and limbo." The Office ignored the Shinigami and turned her attention to the souls before him. She also spotted a few more to the side, though these ones seemed to have the Shinigami's attention the most. "Why are you keeping these souls out like this, old friend?" she asked, not noticing or not caring that the god's eyebrow twitched from the words old friend. "It is not like you to hold so many out at once. Perhaps they died together and you are thinking of a harsh fate for them. That should not be so difficult for one who is death." The Shinigami glared but said nothing, not wanting to keep Office here longer than anything else. Office however looked back at the god, "Unless they are able to be reborn. May I have a suggestion then?" The Shinigami however had a good idea what she had in mind and was stood up from his throne and declared, "Why should I play your games, old friend?" The Shinigami retorted with sarcasm in his voice, "All you have done is trouble others for the sake of defeating the Apocalypse Dragon, Great Red, and driving him out of what was once your domain. Now, begging from my realm and let me decide their fate, as the last time you were here you cheated me of 2 souls that bartered them to my service." The Office did not seem disgruntled and looked at the "By that, you mean beneficial to yourself," the Shinigami declared, and Office did not deny this. As angry the god, even if he was cordial about it, he also was crafty. He had an idea to not only rid him of these souls, but possibly Office as well. "If you are so insistent about it, then I have a price for relinquishing these souls to you." "Name it," Office said at once, knowing the god could change his mind quickly. The Shinigami chuckled slightly, and terrible sound to a mortal being. I will have them reborn into your world and they will cause a butterfly effect that will change much in your world. But this shall be the last time you will bargain or cheat me. I will allow no more souls to be reborn in your world for a time and allow new lives to flourish." The office thought it over fast knowing the god would not wait. "Deal." The death god nodded, "Then leave me to my work." The office walked off and then vanished as the Shinigami turned to the souls. "This time, you shall be reborn. In what way I cannot say, but you all shall be reborn and not even office can fully predict the path of your new lives." He smiled and gave an chilling chuckle, "Perhaps, I shall enjoy this far more than I should." "You're almost there, just a few more pushes, Kushina." Came the voice of a man that appeared in his early 20s. His spiky blonde hair was long to mid-back and tied in a masculine ponytail, and his skin was pale with blue eyes adorning his features. This man was one of the strongest devils known, Minato Vapula, the Thundering Lion, and he was about to become a father with his wife, Kushina Vapula, nee Gremory. "You try pushing the kid out, bastard." Kushina, even when angry and in labor, was a beauty that could rival her mother Venelana Gremory, nee Bale, with perky breasts, normally slim waist, nice butt, silver blue eyes, and long flowing hair that was similar to her twin brother Surzich's. Today was a day of both joy and fear for the couple, as Kushina was giving birth to her firstborn child. The joy came in the fact that the two had wanted to become parents as soon as they were wed, but the fear was more for what Kushina would do to them if they set her off wrong, especially Surzich's. Naturally, Kushina's family was nearby, her sister-in-law Miss La Bale, nee Vapula, Minato's sister, and her son Saraerg, who was still very young. In addition there was Surzich's Lucifer and his wife, Graphia Lucifuge. Her own parents, Lord and Lady Gremory, were there and with them was the youngest of the Gremory family, a 1-year-old Rias. Of course, Kushina couldn't or rather wouldn't think of the others waiting as she pushed again, the contractions and labor pains, making it very hard not to be angry. AHHH. Minato winced as his wife almost crushed his hand as she made another push as the doctor was making sure the delivery was going well. "You're doing fine, Lady Vapula, we're almost done." The doctor said as with one last mighty push, she screamed. The sounds of crying as the doctor had snipped the umbilical cord and started to clean the child. "Is my child alright?" Kushina, calming down, asked in worry as the child cried. "Yes, your son is doing fine." Minato sighed in relief that the doctor mentioned a son and that the cries of the child meant that Kushina's pain was over. That also meant that she would stop trying to crush his bones into powder, but by Satan, she was woman among women. As soon as the others were allowed to, they all gathered closer as the baby was placed into his mother's arms. "Oh, he's so cute," Venelana cried, cooing over the sleeping baby. Miss Law could not help but smile, "Looks like he's got your hair, Minato, at least most of it." It was true the baby had a small amount of hair which shone to be blonde like his father's, but had a few natural streaks of red through his hair. Saraerg looked at the baby from his mother's arms before he says, "He's so small." The adult chuckled at the innocent's words, "Of course, sweetie," Miss Law said, rubbing her son's head, "he was just born after all. Soon he will be as big as you in no time." Saraerg smiled, "I can't wait to play with him." Surzich's loud proudly as he looked upon his nephew, "Of course you will, my nephew/godson will have lots of attention and playmates to never be bored with." Kushina blinked before she narrowed her eyes at her twin, "I'm sorry, I think I misheard you, Surzich's. I could have sworn you mistakenly stated that you were the godfather." Surzich's grinned at his twin, "Well, the others could tell this could be bad, of course I am. Who else would be the perfect choice?" "No way in hell will you be the godfather." Kushina cried, wanting to hit her brother, but kept her son covered as if to protect him from Surzich's. Azazel would sooner be the godfather, hell Michael would be named godfather long before I'd even start considering you. Everyone stared at Kushina in surprise while Surzich's paled and went to his knees by his sister's bed. "You would pick those two before your own brother." "When you put it that way, yes." Kushina simply and without hesitation. Surzich's had large streams of tears falling from his eyes before Minato said, rubbing her back, "Now honey, your brother may not be the perfect choice, far from it in fact," he ignored the loud hey. "In defense, but he is your brother. Maybe you can give him a little slack this time. I think he could be a responsible godfather if given the chance." Kushina glared at her husband and her grinning brother who stood beside him, "Any more lip from either of you, and I will use my Biju Dama spell on both of you here and now." Both males paled, as did some of the others in the room, who obviously took a step or two away from the two men, at the fact she was willing to use the spell in the room with them in it before Miss Law managed to defuse the bomb in the room. "So what's the little guy's name?" Kushina finally stopped threatening the two and smiled lovingly at her son. She already knew his name as she had picked it long ago, Naruto, his name is Naruto. Surzich's blinked now that he was not being threatened. "You named him after." He was cut off when Minato covered his mouth before he caused him even more trouble, "after the main character in your favorite book." "Why yes she did, Surzich's." Kushina was really set on having that name for a long time. Surziches took the hint and nodded as the others looked at the baby and mother with smiled, yes, such a proud name. My little maelstrom, Naruto Vapula. Kushina said as she managed to get her newborn son to sleep and she knew that he would become strong. Minus 17 years later. Perverts. Came the scream of the kendo club in Kuoh Academy as two individuals were running for their safety. They were the perverted duo, two boys that would focus on fulfilling their perverted fetishes. One was Mitsuda, a former jock that became a pervert and joined the photo club to shoot the various parts of women that could cause arousal, and it didn't help that he became a self-proclaimed lolicon. His friend, Motohama, was known as the three-size scouter for his ability to tell the three sizes of a girl at a glance and had a better appearance than his bald friend. It wasn't long until they ran by two girls with the entire kendo club on their tail. Well, they peeked on the kendo club again. I know it's filled with babes, but you'd think they'd learn there are other ways to look at them nude. What do you think, Aika-chan? Said one of the girls, who had brown eyes, brown hair that was semi-rough and tied in a ponytail, and was very attractive. Aika, the girl next to her, was a bit plainer than her friend as she had a more petite structure with some pretty good breast size, eyeglasses over her, also brown eyes, and her hair had a pair of braids on the front side. I don't think they'll learn unless we enlighten them on the tenets of the goddess of perversion, but do they really think they'll get girlfriends acting like that, Issei-chan? Aika answered her friend. They were Aika Kuryu and Issei Haidu, both were also perverts, but they were better at hiding it. Issei was bisexual and secretly enjoyed being called a lump of libido, especially since her main goal was to become the harem queen and then marry a man that shared her libido and make him the harem king. Aika was just known for an ability similar to Motohama's, but instead of instantly telling a woman's three sizes, all she needed was a glance and she knew the size of a man's sword. The two were walking around campus, looking for a decent place to eat lunch at the time. Nah, most girls aren't really open to perverts like us, and even then I'm not interested in those two. Since they won't be able to satisfy me and aren't really a good choice for my dream, considering that they already ruined their rep. And what dream would that be? The two jumped and looked at the newcomer and noticed it was the king of Kuoh, Naruto Vapula, and his two close friends. Sakura Lucifuge and Sasuko. She gasped seeing the three before her actually talking to her. Aika glanced at Naruto before she grew a large blush on her face and a small amount of drool leaked from the corner of her mouth. Issei focused on the most popular man on campus with two of the popular girls as well. The hierarchy was a strange one as it consisted of the most desired and hottest students in the school. Up at the top was Naruto, without a doubt, a king to the school, and several students could not help but compare him to a king lion leading a pride of lions. Under him was the two great beauties Rias Gremory and Akeno Himejima as the most irascible females of the school. Under them among the males part was Kibayudo, considered the prince of Kuoh. While not as hot as Naruto, he was charming enough for girls to fall for him, though Naruto beats him on several levels in looks and personality, as with Kiba he was distant, while Naruto loved to hang with people and was not one to look down on someone. Then came Sasuko Himejima, Akeno's little sister, who unlike her older sibling, was a bit cold to those that annoy her, earning her the nickname Cold Beauty or the Ice Queen of the school. Sakura Lucifuge was also in the same clique as Sasuko, being the child of a foreigner and a native Japanese woman, and she was definitely a looker with a friendly and polite personality. Even when she was angry, she kept a polite smile on her face while knocking the offender out. Rarely was she the one to instigate anything, but the first to resolve it, a disciplinarian beauty. Issei finally recovered and stated, "Oh, it's nothing, Naruto-sama. It's not something that you should bother yourself with." Naruto laughed slightly and both girls blushed. Sakura noticed this and shook her head slightly but had a small smile on her face, while Sasuko kept her face the same with a slight scowl. Naruto then said, "Well, I won't push the matter, but tell me what brings you two out here." Issei was able to get her thoughts together before she grabbed Aika's hand. "Oh, we were looking for a nice spot where we can study and read without the perverts bothering us. Sorry to intrude, but we must be going," and with that Issei ran away, dragging Aika behind her. As they left, Sasuko looked at Naruto. "Why did you insist on talking to those two when it was out of the way to where we were going?" Naruto kept looking at the direction the two girls went. "Call it a funny feeling, but there is something about those two. Something special." Sasuko gave out a simple HNN before she eat. When Naruto lightly smacked her ass, "Behave now or I will have to punish you later." Sasuko had a blush on her face but was debating in her head if she should behave or not. Sakura shook her head again at her friend's antics. Once they were far enough, Issei stopped and leaned against the wall of a building. "Oh god, that was close." Aika pouts at her, "Tell me about it, why did you take us away from Naruto-sama?" Issei had a blush on her face. "Naruto is just the guy I want. He's a proud and bold lion that can tame a ton of girls all around him. I would love to become his harem queen and make a grand harem for him." Aika giggled with a blush and drawl, well if you ever start and get it going let me know. I wouldn't actually mind if it was Naruto. Just looking at him got me aroused. Issei had a perverted grin on her face as well. I know. I'd give almost anything just to have a chance with him. Ara, and whom are you two whispering about? The two seemed to have hit a run of odd luck with having well-known individuals of Kuoh running into them today, as Akeno Himejima herself was right behind them, and with her was Ria's Gremory. These were the two great ladies of Kuoh, a red-headed busty foreigner in the form of Ria's Gremory and a black-haired Yamato Nadeshiko that seemed to have bigger boobs. Oh, no one in particular Akeno-sama. We were just talking about something. Aika said as she felt it was her lucky day to even talk to the two great ladies. Yeah, just someone that we'd love to get to know more. Issei added and couldn't help but admire the Riti's bust as well as Akeno's. Issei felt that big breasts were better than being flat, but she would never say that out loud. I believe you mentioned Naruto's name. I simply became interested and I do apologize for eavesdropping. Rias politely said and there was something that was there. Oh, you heard part of that. It's just th. You don't have to explain. I can guess that Naruto-kun has gathered attention from various girls. I do apologize for cutting this short but I do have other matters to attend to. It was a pleasure speaking to you too. Rias interrupted Issei as she felt that she did have other problems that needed to be addressed. That included finding potential members of a peerage and if Naruto felt that someone was worth offering on a feeling then there might be something to that person after all. It was either natural potential or something more. Rias left the two girls almost fangirling and wondered what would draw Naruto to them. Issei and Aika stared after the two great beauties of the schools before they sighed and fell to the ground. I can't believe our luck, Issei stated. We managed to not only have a conversation with the king of Kuoh, but the two great beauties. This is too much. Aika sighed, at least we were able to talk to them. She also smirked, and I got to get a close look at Naruto to get a size on him. I would do anything to get a chance at him. Issei got a perverted look on her face, oh yeah, and he is always near hot girls from Rias, Sakura, Sasuko, Akeno and more. I am getting horny just thinking about it. Aika grinned, how about we think of way we can get Naruto to notice us enough for one of us to get a ride on him. I know you are not going to settle for a simple looking from a distance. Issei got to her feet, her hand into a fist and a fire in her eyes, hell no. He is the perfect king that deserves a large beautiful harem. And I will be the one to make it for him and be rewarded with the benefits of being in a harem. Aika gave her friend a moment to get through her perverted day mini wet dream. After she was done, Issei turned to Aika with gave the thumbs up, leave it to me Aika. Naruto-sama's harem will be underway and you will be given a prime spot. The two friends shook hands and broke off to head home as the school day had finished. After a minute someone then came out from behind a tree. She was a pale blonde with her hair in a long ponytail and wore the Kuoh school uniform. She watched them leave before she took off herself. After she got in a distance from the school she found her friend waiting. Good to see you again Rainer. The girl smirked, please Ino, you know I have no trouble waiting for a friend. I hate leaving you deep into a school with so many devils inside. Ino waved her hand, I know I am being watched, but I don't cause trouble. Besides of the three important devils in the school I know what to expect. Rias is cautious, but leaves me be, mostly. Sona is always thinking I am planning something and it can be fun to mess with her by doing nothing when she thinks I'm planning on doing something. And then Naruto watches me, but unlike the other two it is more interested. Interested? Rainer asked. You mean like you could seduce him? Ino shrugged, not sure. It is like he knows me. I also gave the feeling I know him as well. Even more so with Sakura the other devils he is always close by. It is almost like I am close to them. As if it was a dream. Rainer stared not sure what to say before she said, well you could ask your father. Ino scoffed, please the man has been too focused on researching sacred gears. He loves me and everything, but once he's focused on his projects and studying sacred gears, it's nearly impossible to get his attention. Mom said she strip-teased on his work table and he barely paid attention. Rainer stared disbelief, she seen Ino's mother and for a human she was pretty hot and for an angel who fell to her lust that was saying something. Ino went on, I even told him I seduced Gabriel, made her fall and made her my sex slave and he said, very good dear, make sure you take care of her. He can be a pain at times. Rainer was not sure what to say. Finally she said, I do have a mission from him though. Seeing that she had Ino's attention she went on, I have to keep an eye on a human that he believed has a powerful sacred gear. If he is a threat then I will have to kill him. Ino blinked, really? That doesn't sound like him. Rainer blinked a couple of times, I guess it was a good thing I came to you. I was so excited to receive a mission from Azazel-sama. It doesn't sound like daddy because he likes humans and has no hatred towards them because he fell to his own libido with human women. My mother is a prime example, even if she isn't as bad as him. Ino gained a thoughtful expression, one of her opal blue eyes was covered by her hair and she pondered before asking, who did you receive the order from, and who is it you're supposed to be watching? Rainer just shrugged as the two walked. Onasi came with the order, and I think it's some guy named Issei. Ino shook her at that, getting Rainer to wonder, what? Issei-sen is a girl. Pretty good body, maybe close to a pair of good D-cup breasts. She's secretly known as a lump of libido. If she was a guy, she'd be a lot like daddy if he was in his obsession with girls mode than gears. As for Donasik, doesn't that guy agree with Kokobiel on starting up another war? Rainer was surprised enough to blink a few times, right before she let her jaw drop. Nani? So, what did you see in those girls, Naruto-kun? Was it their bodies, or perhaps something more? Riaz asked as she, with Naruto, were staying in the occult research club room, and Riaz was only in lingerie. Naruto just had his shirt off, and they weren't the only ones there. Sakura was serving tea with Akeno, and being thankful that Kushina-sama taught her how to properly cook. Sasuko was reading a story, and there were two other women that were there, both first years. They were the Taoju twins, Kaneko and Hinata. Hinata had midnight blue hair that was styled like Kaneko's and lavender purple eyes, while her twin had golden brown eyes and pure white hair. Naruto smiled as he rested on the couch. Not too much really, and you know I don't go after women for body structure alone. He got up and came close to Riaz that their eyes were locked on each other. Otherwise, I would have tried to seduce you a long time ago as my bishop or queen. If it wasn't for your infatuation with Sakura or your friendship with your knight Sasuko. Riaz countered with a sensual tone of voice, not backing away from Naruto. It seemed that Naruto had learned to be quite comfortable showing off his body, like Riaz and the rest of the Gremory family in private with close ones. I still don't see why you chose them. Sasuko commented from her seat. Sasuko-chan. I'm sure Naruto-sama has a reason for scouting them out, even if it's a reason that needs more thought than beyond. I have a good feeling. Sakura said, finishing pouring tea while in a red French-maid outfit. Naruto chuckled sheepishly before saying, sorry Sakura-chan, but I don't have a way to explain it. There is something different about those two. Issei-chan especially has something that makes her different. It is like I am sensing something about her that no one else can. Riaz blinked before a thought came to her. Are you talking about a sacred gear? Naruto shrugged, honestly I have no idea. I know there is something about them that caught my attention and I can't ignore it. My father always told me when training, the smartest move you can make is to trust your gut. I'll follow my instincts and get those two into my Peerage database. Riaz giggled, even though she believed Naruto, maybe I should seduce them into my Peerage. I noticed how the girl named Issei was eyeing Akeno and I could take the two of them all for myself. Naruto laughed before he got close to Riaz and leaned close, almost covering her body with his own. Even if you do, you know I can get both your and my Peerage to listen to me. Even you are wrapped around my finger. He said playfully while twisting a bit of her red hair around his finger. Riaz giggled looking at him with half-lidded eyes and a mischievous grin when she flipped them over and she saddled his waist. Oh, don't you know that you are the one wrapped around my finger? The two laughed while the others rolled their eyes at the two. They always loved teasing one another, thought half the time it seems like they weren't joking. Naruto finally got Riaz off of him and stated to Sakura. Sakura-chan, please get Issei and Ika and bring them to us tomorrow after class. Sakura nodded, of course Naruto-sama. Issei slumped in her seat. She had been racking brain trying to get a way to convince Naruto to listen to her idea first and to convince him of gaining a harem worthy of a man in his position. The problem was, besides getting Naruto to talk to her privately, that she didn't know of his taste in girls, so it would be hard to even get a harem started. Part of her thought it wouldn't so hard once she found out his taste, and since most of the girls here like Naruto anyways, convincing some girls could be easy. She just needed that first chance to start. The door then opened and the class started talking when they saw Sakura entering the classroom. This was odd as she was an upperclassman due to being allowed to skip, which meant she was here for a reason. As she stepped in, the perverted duo stood before her at once. Oh Sakura Lucifuge. One of exotic beauty has come to grace us with her loveliness. The first said before the others. One fixes his glasses that glinted, indeed with a figure of. Sakura had enough of them, so she reached out, grabbed the back of their heads and slammed their head together hard, all with a pleasant smile. The class winced at the sound before Sakura dropped the two and stepped over them. Sakura moved forward and stood before Issei and Ika. Issei Haidu, Ika Kuryu, I am here as Naruto has given his invitation to meet with him. That shocked the entire room, especially another pink-haired girl with a nice body, Caddis, and a girl with twin-tailed brown hair and an equally nice body, Murayama. Are really? Issei asked as she stood up immediately from her seat with a shocked expression, and Ika was equally surprised that she also stared at the pink long-haired girl. Hi, I have been asked by Naruto-sama to fetch you two personally after school today. So please, make sure that there is some free time to visit. You as well, Kiryu-san. Sakura answered, and this felt like a dream come true for the two girls, the one that wanted to create a harem and the one that wanted to be part of it, even if the reason was shallow and pleasurable. Hi, I don't have anything to do today, right Ika-chan? Highschool, I don't have any real plans today and I'd be happy to come later. Ika answered Issei's question as Sakura bowed to them both. Thank you. I shall come for you when school ends today and please call to inform your parents or guardians that you might be a little late today. See you this evening. Sakura said and left the classroom with a polite bow. The room then erupted with various girls asking why them. Or commenting on how lucky the two were to meet the king of Kuoh. We just got invited to meet with the king of Kuoh. I feel that this is my lucky day. Issei said, not even caring that her breasts were bouncing as she bounced around excited. I know, this is incredible. We have to make a good impression, and then Ika said before getting a nosebleed with a bit of drool at imagining what they could be doing with Naruto's sword. I still don't understand why you selected them, Naruto, or rather that girl. Ika has average magic power and could be useful if trained, but Issei's magic power is just above non-existent and her physical strength is atrocious. The only thing I understand is that she's secretly a pervert. Sasuke asked again, questioning her king's decisions. Naruto sighed again, as sometimes he just couldn't help but get pissed by his knight sometimes, she just seemed too combative with him at times. Even I don't fully know, I'm just going with my gut on this. Besides, if we give them some training, I'm sure they can become really strong in no time. He gave the younger Himejima sibling a playful smack on the butt, you worry too much. Naruto-kun has a point, I managed to get over my stutter with some work. Hinata said as she lazed on the couch eating some cinnamon buns. Not the same. You had problem with confidence and being shy, which included your stuttering. You actually had skills fighting before counting your rook abilities. I'm talking about having no skill in fighting, no magical power, nothing that makes her worth anything. Naruto frowned, enough Sasuke, she may not look like it, but she can become strong. I don't want to hear you belittle them when they come here. Sasuke frowned but nodded anyways. While she still disagreed, she was very loyal to Naruto. Naruto himself sighed as he sat in the desk at the Occult Research Club. While it was the front for both himself and Rias and their duties as devils, they were both considered the co-founders and presidents of the club. For now Rias and her group were out, so Naruto and his peerage can work in one of the rooms. The door opened and Sakura entered the room with Issei and Ika behind her. I brought them as you requested, Naruto-sama. Sakura said with a bow. Naruto smiled, thank you Sakura-chan. The girl nodded before she moved, so she stood behind Naruto. Naruto himself smiled at the two, thank you for accepting my invitation. I know it may seem random, but I have a bit to talk about and even something to ask you two afterwards. Both were stunned at the room itself after they entered. They were surprised when Sakura led them to the old school building, which looked in a state of disrepair. The room itself was stunning with old vintage pieces and the people there. When Naruto told them he wanted to speak to them and then ask them something. Issei had thought of what he could possibly ask and now knew it was her chance to speak to Naruto of her dream and making it for him. It's not a problem, Naruto-sama. She had a small joyful shiver at calling him that. I actually wanted to talk to you two about something and I was just having so much trouble even talk to you about. But that doesn't matter right now, Ika said blushing as she got a closer look at Naruto sitting at the desk chair almost like a throne. You wanted to talk to us and was so kind to invite us, so please go ahead. Naruto chuckled, though he was slightly interested in what Issei wanted to say, but figured it was best to stop stalling. I guess I should start at the beginning. You see, the world is more than it appears. Most humans are unaware of the supernatural world, regarding it as video games, anime, manga, and fairy tales. There are many different species and kingdoms, but let's focus on the main three and most famous factions. These are the rulers of heaven, the angels, the rulers of the underworld, the devils, and those that fallen from grace from heaven, the fallen angels. He saw that he had their attention and so went on of the brief history of the three factions, of the Great War and of the result which ended in the ceasefire. To this day, the three factions are trying to build up their ranks to live their lives in their societies and, of course, to become stronger. Which now brings us to why I called you here today. The two were wondering what the thing he was going to ask them and what this lecture had to do with what he wanted to ask them. The reason that I've called you here is that I, along with my companions here, are all devils. He revealed his bat-like wings, just as everyone else did, and that shocked the two girls, and they were almost scared. Yet, they were more intrigued by what just happened. Ayano, what does this have to do with us exactly? Aiko asked as Naruto then smiled a bit and nodded to Sakura. Well, one of the problems with rebuilding our races is that it takes a long time. When the three races were created, each was granted longevity that bordered immortality. In exchange for a long individual lifespan, devils suffer from normally low fertility. Naturally, since fallen angels can easily replenish their forces by getting angels to fall, that would be bad if they decided to stir up old troubles, as angels themselves would never willingly aid devils in helping us keep the underworld, our home. Then Ajuka Beelzebub, one of the great Satans, thought of something. Make more. Hinata said, and while she was much better than before, she was still shy to the point of imitating her twin with easy one-liners. Exactly, that gave birth to what we call the evil P system, a means to transform humans into devils, and I want to offer you two a place in my peerage as devils. The downsides are weaknesses to light, as it acts as a poison to devils, even sunlight, gaining the enemies of devils, and being unable to enter holy ground or speak the name of the biblical god, but the upsides might be a decent trade-off. Since you can get to use magic naturally, even using it to look whatever age you like, get the ability to speak any spoken language, and get a much longer lifespan than a century or two is child's play. Naruto finished off as the girls listened intently. The whole thing seemed like a good deal, but Issei had to ask. Actually, part of what I'm wondering is, do devils have harems? Naruto chuckled as Sasuko sent a glare of sorts to Issei when she asked that. Actually, when a devil reaches high-class rankings, they are allowed to petition for a set of evil pieces for themselves, and that's sort of like a harem. It's not uncommon for devils to have harems, especially if they are of a high rank. Sakura mentioned, but she had a nervous smile and a sweat drop when Issei mentioned and nodded simply, though that was not the case on the inside, where she was jumping for joy. Yes. This is what I need. Naruto seemed to have already started it all for me. Even if he hasn't started a harem yet, we still can make it happen. Issei smiled almost giddy. Well, if you wish to make us devils, then go right ahead. Naruto blinked. That's it. Just like that you would decide a life-changing moment. It is not something to be taken lightly. Aika however followed along the lines Issei was thinking after her question. Yes it is, but what do we have to gain from refusing? We would still be regular teenage girls that can only have a normal life at best. Becoming a devil, we can not only be part of a bigger world, but also be part of something bigger than we could ever dream of. She fixed her glasses with a smirk, like that sword you are hiding from everyone. If Issei can get a harem going for you, and if devils have no problem with harems, then it'll work out for everyone. Naruto looked at the others as they were also surprised at how fast they decided. Sasuko kept her eyes narrowed but said nothing. Naruto then stood up and set out several chess pieces onto the desk. Both human girls looked at them, and Aika asked, those the evil pieces you talked about? Naruto nodded, yes they are. Each piece are based off a chess piece and are given a rank and value. But we can get into that later. Issei, why don't you go first? The girl nodded, so what do I have to do? Naruto smiled at her, just lay on the couch here. I'll handle the rest. Issei did what she was told, and Naruto stood over her. Issei had a blush on her face as her perverted imagination started working. Naruto took no notice as he started the ritual to make her a devil with several pawn pieces over her. Strange, I never expected her to be worth so many pawn pieces. I'm just lucky I gotten 2 mutated pawn pieces, otherwise I would not be able to turn Aika as well. I command thee, Issei Haidu, on my name of Vapula to return to this world once more and have great joy as my pawn. Naruto said as the pieces glowed red, as did the seal of the Vapula house, before they sank into Issei. She was amazed as they sank into her body, but she did not feel anything. But what she did feel was the result, as the rush of energy flowed through her as she felt stronger. The dark room seemed to become clearer and she felt very different. She stood up, slightly shaken before she noticed there were 2 large bat wings coming from her back. Aika gasped at the sight as Issei felt the wings as found them strange to the touch, as they were very real. Naruto turned to Aika, having second thought. Never, Aika stated before she walked forward and laid where Issei once was. Naruto took a single, normal pawn piece this time and began the ritual again. The piece sank into the girl and she too became a devil. As the girl sat up, Naruto smiled at his 2 new pawns and could not be happier. 2 new pieces and still enough pawns for more. Something tells me with these 2 around things will become a lot more fun around here. Was his thought as he knew that the days were going to be more exciting in the future and he could just feel it. Issei was walking to school with Aika and they both felt what Naruto had said about light being poison. It didn't hurt as bad as they thought, but it slightly stung like an itch, like they had poison ivy or something, but that didn't stop them from being happy. That's so awesome that we're devils now, sexy, seductive devils. Issei said as she and Aika started to think about the idea of having their wings out in tight revealing leather outfits with sinfully seductive looks of their faces as they tormented boys that fell to their lust, but none of them would even get the chance to see them completely nude. That was the privilege of their master, Naruto Vapula. I know, and to think we get to be close to the king of Kuoh as well. We're so lucky to be devils. Aika added after coming out of the mini wet dream that the 2 of them thought of, and they both had drool on their faces. Well, let's enjoy the first day of the rest of our lives as devils. Issei grinned as she continued to walk to school with confidence, even bulging out her breasts a bit to emphasize them as she walked into the gates of the school. Yes, here's to the rest of our lives as devils. Aika said, but neither knew that they were overheard. Well, now that I've seen her, she's not bad looking, but now it'll be harder to get close to her because she's a devil now, but why so much worry over it twice critical? Rainer asked as she kept her distance from the gate with Ino stopping just to say goodbye. I think it might be something else. I asked Daddy, and he perked up on the idea that it might have been something else entirely. I'll talk to you later and let Kalawerner and Miltel know that Donasik and Kokobiel-sama can't be trusted. Ino said and she nodded her head before taking off. Issei and Aika were enjoying lunchtime with Naruto and Sasuke, now that they had a reason to speak with them on a more common basis and because Naruto invited them. Then Sakura came with a midnight blue-haired girl that looked almost like a little kid with lavender-colored eyes. They saw her earlier, but never really introduced each other. Looks like the Peerage is all here. Did you get what I asked for, Sakura-chan? Naruto asked as Sakura nodded and created a magic circle and created, with a heavy thud, 2 identical stacks of books. What's this? Issei looked at the books and asked. Naruto-sama asked me to procure some books on devil history, culture, and basic writing in order to get the two of you better acquainted to what it means to be a devil and how to live in the underworld, which is our home. Sakura answered as the two of them looked at the stack. Yeah, and I also think that we should properly introduce ourselves today. Naruto asked and Sasuke just huffed, and the lowly girl nodded and took a place on Naruto's lap, much to Sasuke's chagrin. How do we do that? Aika wondered since the group pretty much knew everyone on some level. Well, we just go around saying our names, likes, dislikes, and dreams for the future. How about you go first, Sakura-chan? Naruto said and the pink cat nodded. Sakura nodded, very well. My name is Sakura Lucifuge, and I am Naruto-sama's queen. My likes include my king Naruto-sama, my half-sister Grafia, my best friend Sasuke, Hinata and Ria-sama, and her peerage and being Naruto-sama's queen. My dislikes include those that disrespect Naruto-sama, Ria-sama, my fellow peerage members, and Grafia and enemies to my king. My dream is to become the best queen to Naruto-sama, be a faithful servant to Naruto-sama's family, and to eventually receive the title of my half-sister as the ultimate queen. Sakura finished with a small smile and a bow. Though she kept one dream to herself, I also wish to give an heir to Naruto-sama. As many heirs as my master desires. The two new pawns looked impressed at Sakura as a few things seems to stick out for them. But before they could ask, Sasuke went on, I'll go next before I am asked to. My name is Sasuke Himejima and I am Naruto's knight. My likes are Naruto, Sakura, Hinata and her sister, my sister Akeno, Ria's and her peerage I guess. She paused here as she had a small blush on her face. Though I love it when Naruto punishes me. I love it when I am being punished. The more painful and sexual the better. Curse you Nasama. She then said again, my dislikes are idiots that bug me and Naruto on occasion. My sister's attitude and the fact she hides so much. I also dislike how she just hates herself. I guess one of my dislikes could be my deadbeat of a father. My dream is to be with Naruto, make my sister stop being so stupid, and if I see my dad give him a quick sharp dick shot. Both girls stared at Sasuke confused with some of the things she said, but wondered what her dad did that made her want to hit him badly there. Naruto rubbed Hinata's back and said, alright Hinata, it's your turn. Don't be shy now. Hinata looked at Naruto and looked down as she tabbed her index fingers together. Names Hinata Taoju. Rook. Like twin, Naruto, others. Dislike can't say. Dream be with Naruto, talk to sister. Hinata felt like hiding in her uniform jacket after that. Oh, I don't want to be so shy here. But I can't say how I dislike my twins' hate and fear, how I dislike not having our family whole. I can't tell them how I want to give Naruto a large litter of kittens and how I want to take to my sister and find out why she did what she did. Naruto chuckled softly knowing it was enough for Hinata. He turned to the girls, well my name is Naruto Vapula. My likes are my family, Ria's and my girls here as well a few of my other devil's friends. My dislikes are a few devils that I don't get along with, he frowned slightly here before he was grinning again. My dream is to become the best head of my family, raise a big family and of course become the next Lucifer. Sakura figured he'd go for a big dream like that, even if he wouldn't exactly be the Vapula head if he became Lucifer, but he was thinking of the time it might take to match one of the Satans in battle, which might give him more than enough time to ensure that he'll take over the Vapula house. I'm Ika Kiryu, and I like guys, Naruto-sama, and my friend Issei. I dislike small dicks and annoying perverts. My dream is to help Issei with her dream and benefit from that. Ika said with a blush and some drool as she looked at Naruto, who could notice that she was checking him out, but Hinata seemed to glare slightly before rubbing her cheeks into Naruto's uniform. I'm Issei Haidu, but you all knew that already. I like porn, girls, guys, Naruto-sama, girls with big boobs, and having big boobs. I dislike the perverted duo for how they approach their perversion, jerks, and pretty boys that play with the hearts of girls, as they are the enemy of all women. My dream is defined to create a harem of beautiful women of all body types and marry a man to share that harem with. Issei really let her inner pervert out as everyone, but I could just stared and then came the sweat drop. Is this girl serious? She sold being human just to be part of a harem? Now I wish Naruto-sama had thought this a bit more on both of them. Sakura thought as it was the most ridiculous thing she ever heard of. Great, girls that care more about looks than skills, and one of them is a super pervert. At least I get the possibility of releasing the sadist side too, it's great to be in charge from time to time. Sasuke thought as Hinata just blushed and retreated a bit more into Naruto's lap. She's so bold. Strange, but bold. Was the lowly rook of Naruto's thought as she looked at her a bit more in a manner that was suspiciously cat-like. Well, that was interesting. It might have actually been a little weird if you did some sort of introduction dance, funny but weird. Naruto said with a smile, even though he was a little embarrassed by his new pawns. At least they'll keep things interesting, and that's when he remembered something. Oh, before I forget. I need you two to come to the occult research clubhouse after school. Why? Issei asked and hoped it was some sort of secret party that could get adult rated. As of yesterday, by means of joining Naruto-sama's Peerage, we have the liberty to enlist you two as members of the occult research club in the old clubhouse. It is there that Ria-sama and Naruto-sama hide our activities as devils. Sakura answered and that got their attention. Ria-sama is a dev, they were stopped when Sasuke placed her hands on their mouths to stop their shouting. There is a thing called silence is golden. The younger Himejima sibling said as Naruto petted Hinata's head and nodded. I think it was mentioned that Rias is a devil and the heiress of the Gremory family. I know cause we're related. Naruto answered and now they wondered how the two were related but couldn't speak until Sasuke released their mouths. They recall how Rias was mentioned a few times by the others but they never thought that she was a devil as well. When their mouths were released, Issei asked, how are you related and is she really a devil? Naruto nodded, yes she is a pure-blood devil like myself. My mother is her elder sister and the twin of the current Lucifer. The current Lucifer? Aika asked stunned at the fact both Naruto and Rias were related to anyone that could be considered Lucifer. Naruto nodded, yeah Uncle Surziches may be a bit of clown at times okay most of the times and a major siskin, mainly towards Rias-chan, but he is a super powerful devil. When the old Satans died he helped restore order after the Great War and being the most powerful he was given the title Lucifer. He's technically the most powerful devil in the underworld. Technically? Issei echoed catching that word. What do you mean? Naruto chuckled nervously scratching the back of his head, well the thing is he can be beaten in a fight but it was with my mother. He and Rias have a special attack they gained from their mother and it can be very deadly. My mother didn't get it but she has several other moves and spells that he can't do. She's also kinda scary when she gets mad and she has a ton of magic power to add to it. Well my mother could be one of the great Satans, she just decided not to be one. Both girls stared in awe at how Naruto's mother sounds like. If she was so powerful then it means Naruto could become as powerful as well. Now both girls were even more excited and knew they made the right choice in becoming devils under Naruto. Someone that can become so powerful should be able to handle a harem or number of lovers easily. Issei glanced at the two stacks of books and gulped knowing it would take a while to even read those. Anything else we should know? Or anything else we will be doing as devils? Naruto smiled, well for now you will be studying and learning of our culture, history and more. Then when you are taking a break from that you shall start training with the rest of the club in order to adapt to the power of a devil better and show what areas we need to improve more. Don't worry we won't go too hard today since you'll start on gaining contracts today. Gaining what? Aika asked before Naruto handed the two girls a small stack of paper flyers. They took the stacks and looked at the first page which had a large seal circle on it. Aika found the design to be interesting as she looked through all the flyers and found them all to be the same. Contracts, Naruto answered Aika's previous question. You see devils have different class or ranks, ranging from low class, where all new devils start, to middle class to high class and sometimes higher. There are also different titles given in the middle classes and up, but you will learn about those when you start studying. Part of my job with a peerage is to help you all grow into a higher class. When a devil reaches the rank of high class they gain the right to petition to gain their own evil pieces set and thus expand the devil's influence and numbers even more. But for now you have to work up through the ranks. This is done a number of ways, but the safest if not slowest way is by forming and gaining contracts. Sakura continued the lecture, devils gain power through by granting the desires of humans. In the old days to summon devils a magic seal was drawn and magic was used to summon the devil in question. But the number of people able to use this method are all but extinct, or people have simply stopped believing. Devils pass out these filers that are magic seals, and making a wish on them allows a devil bound to the seal to be summoned. So we pass these out, have people call us, and then we do stuff for them. Issei asked, flipping the filer over, wondering how a simple filer was able to do all of that. In the terms for the simple mind, yes. Sasuko replied, getting bored already with how these two were acting. Part of her hope she helped in training so she can punish them and possibly whip them both. They were perverted enough that she could get them to enjoy it. She smirked at the thought of finally getting a pair of slaves of her own. She's scary. Both Aika and Issei thought at the same time. It was also a little disheartening that they were basically being called stupid, but Naruto just smiled and they felt better. They still had a plan to become part of his harem officially. You gotta walk before you can run, so start studying. First by studying the underworld language, or demonic script if you prefer, then work on up to the other books on the stack. Of course, when we're done with you in training you'll probably want more study time. Naruto said with a mischievous gleam in his eye, and the two were confused on what he meant. Issei and Aika were passing out flyers together and were glad that training was over. It was training that could only be something out of a manga, and it was tough. This isn't so bad, besides the training. Issei said as she was sore, but she did feel more adapted to her body as she used that desire scanner to find people that would likely be able to summon a devil for something, ranging from extra help to something more serious. At least this is a break. Aika commented, glad that she had a break from that heavy workout. It's a good thing that devil bodies were more durable than human bodies, otherwise she didn't think that she'd survive. Yeah, but sometimes to get a dream you have to suffer a bit. Like that manga about ninjas that was inspired by Drag So Ball. Issei-chan was fired up and ready to prove herself to Naruto to be part of his harem, and she wasn't going to let anything stop her. Aika just shook her head, but she knew where the pervert girl was coming from. She wanted to be a devil, and she got it, and that included the possibility of being recognized by Naruto as a mistress. They still had flyers to hand out and went back to work. The two returned to the Occult Research Club's clubroom and saw that Naruto wasn't alone with his peerage. Rias, Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko were there as well, and a plate of cinnamon buns. They wondered if they were all devils before they recalled that Akeno is Sasuko's sister, as well as Kaneko being Hinata's twin. No doubt they were devils as well. They were surprised to see Kiba was a devil as well, but then again he had almost all of the girls also wanting to be him, so it was possible. Issei smiled seeing the cinnamon buns left out for everyone. She took one of the warm buns and tried to take a bite out of it. The keyword is try, as she bit nothing but air. She blinked seeing her cinnamon bun was gone. She glanced around and all she saw was the lowly twin sitting on the couch, each eating a cinnamon bun, though Hinata had a slightly happy look on her face and nibbling on her bun held in both hands. Issei shrugged, deciding it was nothing to worry about before she got another cinnamon bun and tried to take a bite. But once again it vanished in the blink of an eye. Issei gasped at her hand before she took a bun in each hand and tried to eat. Again they were gone before her eyes. She groaned when she looked and saw there were no more cinnamon buns. Glancing around she saw Hinata sitting there still nibbling on her bun, but now her cheeks looked puffed out as if stuffed with something. It made her resemble a chipmunk and made her look so cute to Issei. Hinata swallowed the food in her mouth before going back to nibbling on her bun. Kaneko rubbed the top of her sister's head affectedly, knowing her sister's love for cinnamon buns rivals her love of sweets. The fact they both can't share cinnamon buns with each other at times was a nice family passing. Naruto chuckled, well used to the sight of Hinata getting her cinnamon buns. Rias giggled as well, seeing the funny look on Issei's face. So nice to meet you too. Now that you two are devils as well, it makes things much easier. I think you all know everyone here, Naruto said, and the girls nodded, seeing as most of the people here were famous within the school, but we should still have everyone know of each other anyways. Kaneko Taojo. Likes twin, candy, Rias and Naruto. Dislike perverts. No dream. Kaneko answered lightly, and it didn't really give as much attention to what she wanted to do. I'm Yudo Kiba, and there isn't really much you need to know about myself. Kiba introduced himself, but that just made him look arrogant to a degree. Smug pretty boy, Issei thought as she glared at the boy, being one of the few to not be affected by the charm of the Prince of Kuoh. Aika just looked disappointed at the young man for being able to pull of being rude in a charming way. Ara. That wasn't a very nice introduction. My name is Akeno Himejima, and I adore my little sister and my friend Rias. I don't have a lot of dislikes and don't have many dreams. Akeno said as she gave the vibe of a Yamato Nadeshiko, and then was Ria's time to introduce herself. I suppose you already know my name, but I'll introduce myself anyway. I'm Rias Gremory, heiress of the House of Gremory and a relative of Naruto. I like Japan and Japanese culture, my peerage, and my family. I have a few dislikes, and I don't have any dreams at the moment other than being a splendid clan head of my house. Issei and Aika were both in awe of the fact that she had some idea of what she wanted in the future, but then Issei raised her hand. Can you explain that different pieces? I know you said they were based off of chess pieces so everyone where has a piece, but you didn't really explain them to us. Naruto nodded, of course, I was going to explain the pieces more later, but no harm explaining them now. Like I said, each piece is a chess piece, and that piece has a special ability for that devil. He turned and held his hand towards Kiba and Sasuke or Knight.S. The knight pieces are worth 3 pawns and specialize in speed. All super fast, most also take up weapons to make them more deadly. Naruto nodded to Sasuke who sat there looking bored with her arms crossed before she accepted the tea her sister gave her. Next is the bishop piece. Like the knight, they are also worth 3 pawns, though they have a very different style to fighting. Think of them like the mages or wizards in the RPG games human make. Sasuke's skill in magic is strong, and the bishop piece increases it even more. Bishops are considered the support classes as well as long-distance fighters. He then moved and rubbed the head of the twins. Kaneko and Hinata are both rooks. The rooks are worth 5 pawns and gain a large amount of strength, durability and defense. Both rooks here may be small, but they pack quite the punch, and their small size makes them hard to hit even if they can take most of them. He smiled at both Sakura and Akeno, and one of the most powerful pieces, the queen. The queen gets all the abilities of knight, bishop and the rook, but to a stronger degree. Which state gets the most increases depends on what they train in or what they are good at, but they are the powerhouses in a peerage. Unlike the others, the queen is worth 9 pawns. Aika and Issei takes this in before Aika asked, you keep mentioning pawns. Those are the last pieces, correct? Rias nodded and continues for Naruto, the pawn is the most underestimated and still a valued piece to a peerage. By itself the pawn gets nothing, but when given permission by the kings or when inside enemy territories, they can promote or gain the abilities of any of the other pieces beside the king. However, there are limits, Naruto added, if the body can't handle the power of a piece, like the queen, it'll do more damage than good. And you too, my friend, and new members of my peerage are my new pawns. Issei and Aika managed to keep up, even if they felt deflated at what they were. Pawns were the weakest piece naturally, but it was cool that they heard that they could train into different types of pieces if they wanted to gain certain advantages. Issei already imagined herself training to be a knight or rook, mainly because she was an avid fan of drag soapball, and the main character used nothing but his fists. So why not just beat up the bad guys with her bare hands? Aika figured she'd pursue the path of the bishop since it worked with her natural intelligence and looks as a bookish girl. The question was how now? So, what do we do here? Do we go out and raise hell or something or get virgin sacrifices? Issei asked as she wanted to get started on her path of devildom. Naruto just chuckled a bit at that since that was what most people thought and he noticed that Issei-chan was getting a nosebleed with a virgin comment. Actually, we don't take human sacrifice anymore and there aren't many things that would warrant a life of servitude to a devil. But Naruto has mentioned getting requests. First, we shall ensure that you can use our family seals to teleport to a client. Rias stated while Naruto readied the means to introduce them to the seal. The two girls were a little nervous. Since this club is devils only, feel free to stop by any time, you may be called to do so. Kiba said, and the girls still wondered if he played for the other team. It would make sense, as he never did take any of the girls up on any dates or the advances for more. It got them questioning if the only choices in this school for dating that were human were either boys that were pretty and possibly not interested in girls or overly hormonal boys that would peek on a girl. Both girls, however, then focused on Naruto as he came forward and took their hands, making them blush slightly. Naruto ran a finger in a patter over their hands and a seal appeal on their hands, the same seal on the filers they were passing out earlier. There you go, with this you will be able to use my family magic circles to travel to contractors. Aika looked at the seal as it vanished, but she could tell it was still there, we can travel to anywhere through a magic circle with ease. Only the one my family uses, Naruto explained. And only if you have the seal that allows you to use it. Think of it as like the relationship between a car and its keys. Without the keys the car can't even start. But with the key you can use the car and go almost anywhere. For now you two will be using it to get your contracts. Issei gained a determined look in her eyes as she pumped her fist, alright, I'm ready. What do we have to do? Naruto smirked as he handed Issei a contract, it's a simple job that is perfect for getting your feet wet. You two can take it together. They both held the contract looking it over with raised brows before a magic circle appeared under them and glowed. However, Naruto and everyone else noticed a slight problem when they were leaving, but going slow. Weird, Naruto thought, if Aika was going by herself, she could have been able to leave with the amount of magic she has. But Issei doesn't even have enough magic to send herself. I will have to work on fixing that, but for now I think I'll help them get going. Naruto added some more magic, and the two were then gone. Sasuke scowled, you needed to help them teleport. I still think you were wrong about them. Naruto said nothing bad about them, they might be on the low side of magic, but they only just started, so they have room to grow. Yeah, but even new devils have enough magic to teleport, Sakura added with a slight frown, worried as well. Naruto said nothing before Riaz asked Naruto, what contract did you give them? It must have been something big if you needed to send both of them. Naruto answered with an amused look on his face, just one job we always get. And they might need both of them to complete it. For a few minutes the group looked at him before Naruto's peerage stiffened and looked wide-eyed know what job the two pawns were going on. That's cruel, Naruto, Sasuke said, though she felt the two deserved it for all the trouble they are causing. The kendo giggled, wondering what it could be, and she hoped it was something to cause them pain. That thought sent shivers down her spine. Thanks.